So this video is going to be a test of sorts, a test of the Cape Cod Polishing Cloths. Now, I've heard nothing but good things about these polishing cloths, okay? Absolutely good things. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos where they've utilized these along with some other polishing methods to get, say, watches back to a lustrous shine. Not going to use it on a watch today because I've never used this, okay? This is my first time. I'm just following the instructions on the top of the tin and going by what I've learned seeing it in the odd video. But what I'm going to do today is I'm going to try and polish out some scratches, some small surface scratches on a bangle of mine. And if it works, if I succeed, then maybe I'll try it on a watch next. But I just want to see if I can get these things to work for me by working them. Let's go. So to keep this video a reasonable length, I've sped up the polishing portion of the video. It's at double speed. And I also began polishing this for a good 15 minutes before I began shooting. I had shot some of that, but the lighting wasn't perfect, so I went back and had to polish more anyways. It is not a simple task. It requires a lot of polishing, and the bracelet has improved, but it still isn't perfect. So I'm going to go back to it and maybe polish some more another day. But the kit itself includes a number of polishing cloths. Each packet comes with 2 polishing cloths in it. You also have this buffing cloth. It tells you not to wash off the polishing solution after polishing an item. You should definitely buff it with the buffing cloth, and the buffing cloth can be used over and over again. I have a pair of rubber gloves that is included in the kit. I'll use them this one time, but then I have other rubber gloves I use in the kitchen. I'll use that from that point on, but for this particular video, I thought I'd just use what's available in the kit. And it is a fair amount of work. It really is. You'll notice that I basically buff each section over and over and over again, and it doesn't really have much difficulty restoring the luster. That's one thing I noticed right away, is that you can start to get the shine back quite quickly. But as far as buffing out scratches, that's a whole different animal. Okay, I have a couple of really bad scratches on this particular bangle, and then I have a lot of sort of scuff marks because I wear it on my right wrist. I'm right-handed. Unlike a watch, and specifically some of my watches, I don't mind getting it wet. So if I'm doing the dishes or the like, my left hand pretty much just holds the item while I use my right hand to scrub and wash any dirt or grime or whatever off pots and pans and the like. And if I'm wearing my bangle, it quite often will nick against the stainless steel sink or the object that I'm cleaning or what have you. So it takes a fair amount of abuse. Also, if I'm actually handwriting something, once again, I might rest my right wrist on the table and it gets a little scratched up. So I also don't pay as much attention, right? It's not like a watch where I'm afraid of breaking it. It's just a solid piece of silver. And this particular bangle is kind of precious to me because it isn't just a typical silver bangle. In fact, I wouldn't even own a silver bangle if it wasn't for the reason I actually purchased this in the first place. And that's this particular bangle was used in a TV series. Here in Toronto, we get a lot of TV auctions, right? They'll shoot a show, and then at the end of it, they don't want to have to haul everything back or find somewhere to store it. So instead, they'll auction off a lot of the props and items and such that were used. And this particular bangle was actually worn by the primary antagonist in a series called Orphan Black Echoes, right? It's a spin-off from the Orphan Black series, which was shot here in Toronto. All seasons were, and it was quite a popular show here. I don't know how popular it was in the States, to be honest, but it did quite well here. It lasted a number of seasons. And then after a little while, they decided to sort of revive it with a little spin-off called Echoes that primarily focuses on the kid of the main character. And this was available in that auction. I took a peek at what was there, and the fact that the bad guy wears this, and essentially it's supposed to be a security bangle that gets him anywhere in his research facility, but it's just like a sterling silver bangle. That's all it is. But because of the connection to the TV show, I thought it'd be kind of a neat little thing to have, and it didn't go for much in the auction, so I figured, why not? I can actually sell it for more in its silver value than what I paid for it. And I've gotten kind of attached to it, and as a result, it's scuffed up, right? So when I decided to purchase the Cape Cod cleaning cloths, it wasn't for this reason. It's for my watches, right? I do buy some vintage watches, and quite often they'll have, usage scuffs and scratches on them, and I don't want to have to send it to someone, like to a professional, to polish it all the time. It takes a while to do that, right? Sometimes they could have them for months before you get it back, depending on how backed up it is. And here in Toronto, we don't have that many watchmakers, so as a result, quite often, these things do get backed up. So for simple scuff marks or simple scratches or just dull stainless steel, I figured I'd try out the Cape Cod cloths. And so far, it looks pretty good, to be honest. So far, it's kind of working for me, because even though I don't completely have the scuff marks removed from, in total, it works out to about 30 minutes of polishing. It has brought it back to a pretty good shine, to the point where if I was, say, wearing a watch on wrist that had this much luster restored to it, I'd be happy. That little bit of scuffing is not a big deal, because you expect to kind of see it, especially on a vintage watch. Now, if it's a new watch and, it falls or something and I get like a major scratch mark and I'm unable to buff it out with this, then no problem would I have dropping it off with a jewelry maker or a watchmaker or somebody who can buff that out for me. No issue whatsoever. But if I just want to remove the kind of like daily use scuff marks that can happen and don't really show up that well unless you look closely, then this will be enough. This will serve a purpose, right? It'll do the job. So am I happy with this so far? I'm pretty happy. I won't be fully satisfied until I, maybe go at this a couple of more times and see if I can actually remove all of the scuff marks by just using the polishing cloths. I have a feeling I'm going to have to maybe buy some really fine, like very fine grit sandpaper, and maybe just sand it a little smoother and then go over it with the polishing cloth to try and get it to that as new look. But for now, this is satisfactory. This will definitely do the job for me. I buffed the bangle one more time and then let it sit for a while so the steel would dry. I was worried that maybe that luster and shine I was seeing was more a result of a wet surface than it was the actual polishing. But now that I've got it back on and I'm taking a second look at it, 100% the Cape Cod cloths made a significant difference. I'm very pleased with the result. This looks excellent, to be honest. You have to look real close to actually see the scuff marks. So if you're on the fence about whether or not you should purchase these cloths, I'd say go ahead and do it. Go ahead and do it. Sure, it takes a little bit of elbow grease, but the actual result, the finished product, looks fantastic.